Hello, beautiful humans. You are here to think out loud with me. I'm Natalie Peterson, casting in from my little neck of the woods in northern Colorado to you in yours, wherever and whenever that might be. This digital adventure is my way of turning years of internal chatter, wondering, silent suffering, and physical and mental close calls into enlightening and empowering conversations with others. The zero card in a traditional tarot deck is the Fool. It can be placed nowhere in the sequence or everywhere in the sequence. It's about freedom. It's about intuition. In my own translation, I am the Fool. It's a goal, actually, an aspiration, a reality that I aim to embrace. See, the Fool is always present. She doesn't know what's going down and doesn't quite fit in because of her naivete. And what a relief that is. In my interpretation, the Fool is representative of truth being relevant to the individual. Neither right nor wrong. It's not about good or bad. It's just true. As humans, in our higher logical, conditioned way of thinking, we want to judge, categorize, and control everything. When everything is under control, we think we are calm. And so we create rules to follow to help us corral those folks who stray outside, who might color outside our lines. These lines, or boundaries, some of them are substantial, like border walls. No entry. These are the rules. Other boundaries, way far other end of the spectrum, are subtle. They're personal, little shock collars and tisk-tisks. We are so very conditioned to judge, categorize, and attempt to control that we miss out on opportunities for expansion, for leveling up, for deeper understanding, greater awareness, appreciation, connection, abundance, sovereignty. Sovereignty and the Fool are one and the same in my interpretation. Sovereignty and the Fool are beyond the ego's safety and compliance zones. When we are sovereign, we risk being the fool, the villain, rejected, out of bounds, illegal even. We say, this is my truth, regardless of the consequences. And then we dance and we celebrate and we rise up and we heal and we hold ourselves and we expand and we become and we rest in our knowing and acceptance that what is right for me is mine alone. Getting right with ourselves may mean we have to break rules and cross boundaries and shirk cultural norms. The angst of this is what has always shut me down until now. And interestingly, my circle has expanded to include others who have hit this space of self-truth and transformation, especially lately. My community is growing and it's expanding, and I'm being given the opportunity to have meaningful, deep conversations about what happens when you embrace the Fool, when you embrace your own Fool and become your own glorious, intuitive, generous, expanded version of yourself. And that's why I'm here today with my guest, Greg. Greg is piping in from his home office with his headphones on and ready to rock and roll. We've connected, Greg and I, through a mutual friend, Nancy, and I am so incredibly grateful for this connection. It's next level for me. Greg has experienced and is experiencing a calling to speak out and to use his voice and his experiences and the story of his experiences to inform others who, for whatever their story is, they're living in pain. And the pain is mental, the pain is physical, the pain is a combination likely of all of the above, because frankly, physical creates mental and the other way around. They're so intricately connected. But I have the absolute honor of connecting with Greg in a space where he's using his voice to connect with others that may just need to hear this, just need to hear that there's hope. Greg, I would love for you to say hi to listeners, and let's get
Oh,
this conversation underway.
thank you, Natalie. I'm so glad to be here, and hello to all your listeners. And hopefully, today I can shed some light on some alternatives that I've found that really, in a way, saved my life,
Mm,
without a doubt.
yeah.
Uh, I've had chronic pain. Well, I'm 67 years old, and I've had chronic pain since around the age of 4. And I had a joint injury, shattered an elbow, and I've had 6 surgeries on it over the years, and that was the start of my struggles with physical pain. Uh,
At 4 years old.
yes, and the elbow's been chronic most of my life, up until just very recently. Has it been pain free? And on top of the elbow, I've had approximately 20 other major surgeries on joints, 3 on a shoulder, 3 on a knee replacement, just on and on. It was something I grew up with, and it was a norm, something you accepted. The pain, you just lived with it. Tylenol, aspirin was about, all they gave young persons back in those days. And by the time I was out of high school, I'd already had 2 knee surgeries, a shoulder, hernia, uh, and then started higher education. And my back was feeling, one day I just woke up and it was killing me. So I went to the health department, and they x-rayed it, and there was already some major curvature starting in my lower back. And this is at the age of 19. Uh, So right from that point on, I knew I had back issues, and they're going to be with me the rest of my life. Uh, and then cervical started in when I was about 35, and it got to the point uh, to where the only time I wasn't in physical pain was when I was asleep, in severe, 5 and 6, 7 level, every day from the minute you woke up. Uh, I was desperate. I was still working, but I worked because it took my mind off the pain instead of sitting at home, suffering. And I probably saw anywhere from 8 to 10 orthopedic and neurosurgeons just on my cervical spine. Uh, and they all had one solution: fuse my whole neck. And if you're not familiar with what fusion is, they go in there and put some metal object so you can't move that joint any longer. And that's a lifelong process. You're stuck. So I'd lose 50 to 75% of my neck motion if I did that. And I was desperate. And I wasn't going to let them fuse me. I just something was telling me, don't let them do this. So I got frustrated one day and got on the internet and started researching. This is back in the early 2000s, 2002, 2003. And I was a candidate for a new disc replacement. Uh, and you go in there as a blind study, and I was going to do that, except in the blind study, half the people don't get the disc replacements. They just get fused, and you don't know until after the surgery. So
What?
that was my biggest option to relieve my pain, and that was a total failure. So back on the internet, researching doctors, and I found a physician in Florida, uh, and I don't mind mentioning his name. Is Dr. Benatti, the Benatti Institute. And he pioneered orthoscopic surgery in cervical and lower back, where they just go in there with very small instrument with a camera on it, and they cut off any tissue or scar tissue hitting the nerve. Uh, Pretty profound new kind, that stuff was not out there. And I called my doctors here at home and they all said that would not work.
Mhm.
Absolutely not. And to make a long story short, went to the Benatti Institute. He said absolutely he could help me. I did 3 procedures down there over 2 years, and that was 20 years ago, and I'm still pretty much pain free in my neck.
Mhm. Mhm.
Uh, so that was a big leap for me. But
Mhm.
all the other, I learned from there that don't accept necessarily what all the doctors are telling you. Think for yourself, research. Don't understand what they're telling you they're going to do to you because fusions are so serious. Uh, at the Benatti Institute, 75% of his patients down there were because of bad fusions, and
Really?
they were still in horrible pain.
Mhm.
Uh, so that was just one avenue. In between all this, other surgeries. I was a physical guy, worked outdoors a lot. I loved it. I was also an office guy, so I had a combination of both. Uh, and as you get older, arthritis starts kicking in and joints just, they don't get better. They just start getting, the physical pain just starts getting worse. And then my back really started kicking in. And that's from horses and just physical, you wear out. Uh, and it's almost a year ago, December 15th, uh, I was hurting so bad about starting 3 or 4 months before that I couldn't hardly walk 100 feet uh, without just almost falling to my knees in pain. I went to one of the top neurosurgeons in the state I live in, and he takes all the hard cases. And mine I thought, would be one of those cases. Well, after MRIs and meeting with him, it was his cure was 2 7-hour surgeries, uh, fuse 8 levels of my lower back from S all the way up to L8 and lose 50 to 75% of the motion in my back. Uh, going to the restroom would have been difficult. That's how bad, loss of motion and twisting. And I went one last meeting before the surgery, and that was on December 8th last year. He looked me in the eye and said, Greg, I just don't think I can help you with the pain doing this surgery. It's too severe. And I just have a feeling it wouldn't do what you need it to do. And I really respected him for that. I mean,
Hmm.
and so I went home in delusion of what to do. Uh, and I called Nancy up, our friend, mutual friend,
Mhm. Mhm.
and discussed alternatives. And she suggested microdosing with psilocybin and possibly with LSD.
Mhm.
Well, I got on the internet and started researching, and University of Michigan in their pain department had done research with mice with the combination of psilocybin and LSD and had extraordinary results on pain relief. I don't have time for the FDA to approve all this stuff. I was desperate.
Mm.
Uh, so I took the leap of faith, and let me clarify microdosing. It's not getting high. It's not feeling, it's a low dose that you may feel just a little bit of relaxation or euphoria, but it's a lot less than drinking one beer or something like that, much less.
Mhm.
I mean, it's
Mhm.
very minor. And if you're feeling much, you're doing too much. So it's like taking an aspirin or a Tylenol, actually, because you don't have any side effects. Uh, and I can't even begin to describe the pain I was in. It was 100% of the time, uh, and I was just absolutely desperate for solutions.
Mhm.
And I skipped a part here. for years, doctors have been putting me on opiates to try to relieve pain. And after a week or so, they just don't seem to do much. Back in the early 2000s, they put me on OxyContin for my neck pain 3 times. We got up to 3 times a day, 80 milligrams a dose.
Goodness.
Yeah, it was. And I kept looking at the doctor saying, this isn't helping. And they kept upping and upping. And finally, I can't do this anymore. Uh, so basically, I was addicted to OxyContin. Uh,
Hmm.
and by chance, I did a UME 23 genetics, uh, and it came back that my body doesn't synthesize opioids after 4 or 5 days. It just doesn't work. So I quit cold turkey, and it was I mean, it's horrible. So I'm never getting back on opiates like that again. They don't do me any good. After 4 or 5 days, quit them. So I didn't have anything out there that would work. Tylenol, aspirin wouldn't touch the pain. Uh, so uh, I started microdosing. I combined LSD and psilocybin, magic mushrooms. And within the first 48 hours, my back pain was almost gone completely. Uh, it had bothered me most of my life. Every morning was it was a challenge, just stretching out, and so you could uh, get going. I was just, I couldn't, I was in just awe. No, I just couldn't believe this could happen, especially that quick. And I had a lot of other aches and pains, elbows, shoulders, neck was still kind of a little sore here and there. And the elbow, especially, and a little background on the elbow, they had to do a special, unique surgery that's not very common back in the day. Mayo Clinic recently wanted me to come in and they wanted to do a research paper on it because of the flexibility I still have with it. But it's been a pain. And I'd had 2 recent surgeries for nerve damage in there, and it was just swollen and killing me. It took about 3 weeks of this microdosing, and the pain completely left my elbow. Just, it's gone. Uh, the swelling was still there, and I couldn't get rid of the swelling. And once again, Nancy, God bless her, she goes, I hear uh, lion's mane mushroom helps with
Mm.
inflammation.
Hmm.
I put that in my drink, and in 3 mornings, that swelling had completely vanished in my elbow. It was gone and has
Wow.
not returned. So mushrooms have uh, been very good for me.
I
And
would
I can't
say
say it any
so.
other. What's that?
I would say so.
Yeah. And I'm just so overwhelmed at the results that I've had with this. I just felt I've just been compelled to let people know it's worth a try
Hmm.
uh, for
Hmm.
some people, and it may not be for others, but it's an alternative out there that people need to be aware of.
Hmm.
And I've continued my research, Natalie. John Hopkins doing lots of studies uh, on psilocybin, LSD, MDMA, University of Arizona, University of Michigan. Uh, so there's a lot of interest in higher education right now in exploring this.
Hmm.
And the, as far as I know, I haven't found any studies as far as a group of physicians or pharmaceuticals probably aren't going to be interested in this because they can't patent it,
Hmm.
and they'll push opiates versus microdosing with psilocybin and LSD, which to me just doesn't make sense anymore.
Hmm. Hmm.
Opiates are horrible on your body,
Hmm.
uh, and I've had a horrible run with them over time because you keep thinking that's your only alternative.
Yeah, let's
Well, And
I want to dig into, if we can, just for a minute, like
sure.
the physicalness of all of this. I like can I can't even imagine. And the mental pain that, and just being up in your head trying to, gosh, I mean, like next level mind over matter, like, and be and digging into the very depths of yourself to try and just get up every morning. And it's understandable how we try everything. We're trying everything to relieve us of pain. That, I mean, chronic pain is, it's hard to even put words around. The
It,
mental struggle of chronic pain is significant. And the the answers that we have for it to numb, we're doing two things. We're trying to numb not only the physical pain, but we're also trying to numb the mental pain of it, the anguish, the not having an answer, not having a direction, not having relief, all of it. And it's a cycle that is incredibly hard to break.
oh, it is. And I left out probably a very important, not important fact that my best treatment for pain over my life was basically alcohol. And that's really and that was the only thing that worked consistently. Uh, and I've bounced back and forth on alcohol abuse and using it most of my life. My when I was 4 and 5 years old, I had severe asthma, and we actually received house calls back in those days,
Mm-hmm.
and I still remember the doctor coming to the house, and his remedy for me was honey, lemon juice, and whiskey. So I started drinking at a very young age to relieve symptoms, and it's been a battle for me, but I've I've learned to deal with pain without it, and that was hard, and I was completely uh, sober and not drinking for a number of years before I started the microdosing, and it it's the difference. The microdosing relieved the pain, but it didn't make you numb. And alcohol just numbs you to the point to where you don't feel anything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a way to live. I mean, we all know that, whoever's had issues with alcohol. It's but you're frustrated in life because you get to that point pain wise, and everybody has a pain threshold. I don't care
Mm-hmm.
who you are. When you reach that threshold, you're going to be grabbing for anything you can. Uh, and it's not your fault. You're just trying to relieve the pain any way you can. And unfortunately, uh, other things get involved, marriage, family, kids, drinking doesn't work well around that. To a nightly toddy, you can, it always comes into more. It always does. It got a little of the pain, but I need a little bit more. And
Mm-hmm.
frankly, it's what got me to sleep at night because it's
Mm-hmm.
very difficult sleeping when you're hurting.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so I guess uh, people that I think most people in life will have a battle with chronic pain at some point in time. It just seems like, and people have so many different pain thresholds. What might not hurt me much might be just horrible for someone else. And it's hard to tell someone about your pain. It really is. I mean, unless you've felt it and the severities of it. And, stubbing your toe is not what we're talking about here. We're talking about stubbing your toe 24 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
You just keep stubbing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, my empathy goes out for anyone that I feel and see that are struggling with this.
Mm-hmm.
And for the listeners here, after the microdosing, I did tell my cardiologist, my orthopedic, my neurosurgeon, and my GP what I was doing. And after my lab results, and they saw my attitude, every one of them said, "Don't stop.
Mm.
Keep doing what you're doing." And that's off the record, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but they're seeing it. They just, because of their license and practices, they can't go
Right.
into that area yet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, and therein lies, part of the finding your own truth. I mean, we're in, especially when it comes to, addiction and drugs and rules and these things are, not approved and not studied and this, that, or the other, that there's so many barriers to us getting relief that may work. And let me say, just for the record, on the record, that neither Greg nor I are trying to diagnose or suggest for anybody to just go out and start like this takes work, research, self-reflection, self-inventory, guidance, um, trust in other humans who have knowledge, um, that but I guess where I'm sitting is that, as a culture, we're conditioned to not try things because of the rules around them, and that this could be an opportunity for someone to realize life on a different level. Um, and that you, with your example, your living experience, is just crazy what you've been through to get to a place where you can sit in front of me and say, I am pain free, is just mind boggling. It's mind boggling. And so, absolutely give me more of that. Absolutely continue to press against the rules that would tell you, mm, this may be, I'm trying to describe, for me personally, I am a rule follower. It gives me anxiety, to think about getting in trouble. I'm the one, if there's trouble going down, I will be the one that meets the cops. I'm outside.
I
And I drive
understand.
people crazy of like, and so for me to break that conditioning, to break that who I am in that space, that hyper vigilant, like, if it doesn't have a seal, then it's, and an approval and a check mark and an FDA and a this, that, or the other, that I can't touch it. But those are all human constructs, right? And beyond that the is the truth for us individually, and the truth for Greg, and the truth for someone else listening may include some pretty crazy stuff. And isn't the alternative fantastic? Like, look at you. And you're climbing a freaking 14er?
I did. I did that last July 22nd. And I did that to prove to myself that this was really happening and I could do it, and to prove to my family and friends that this really worked. And you can tell people you're not in pain, but I had to show them. And, I climbed Mount Handy's. It's a 14,000-foot peak. They say one of the easiest ones, but it wasn't easy for me. But it was strenuous. But the end of the day, I was pain free, pretty much. And when I say pain free, I don't mean being numb or like when you're on opiates or alcohol. You get a splinter in your finger, you stub a toe, it's going to hurt. It's the deep chronic pain that this is controlled and made go away. And in my research too, it has something to do with uh, rewiring your brain on how you see and feel pain.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it does it painlessly. I mean, and I know it's working for other people. A very prominent lady in the city I live in was having horrible, horrible cervical pain in her neck. And I told her about this, and pain will drive you to try things.
Mm-hmm.
And she was open to try it. So she did exactly the same regimen I was doing. Uh, for 5.5 weeks, she didn't see much results. Uh, at the end of 5.5 weeks, her pain was just gone in her cervical area. So everybody's going to be a little different, but patience and give it a chance. Uh,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and what you were saying about I didn't do psychedelics in the 60s or 70s and ever. So it wasn't like I had a good or bad experience with them. I just hadn't had one. I just heard
Mm-hmm.
always the bad, people
Mm-hmm.
going blind and, from everything I've read and heard, no one has ever overdosed on LSD or psilocybin. Uh, so it's not a safety issue compared to alcohol at all,
Right.
which is another big factor for me because for centuries and really millennia, alcohol has been the pain that
Relief of
everyone
choice.
has
Yeah.
used. That's been our
Yeah.
go-to. Uh, if if I hadn't gotten to this position, and I'm going to be quite honest with you, I just don't think I'd be here right now if I wouldn't have tried this microdosing. And that's the severity of, and when I say the severity of the pain I was in at that time, it's off the charts when I say it's severe. Uh,
Mm.
it's emergency room kind of pain,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the level I was in. So just can't overemphasize uh, how this worked on my body. And I
Mm-hmm.
know it's working for other people because they've done some studies and people are coming out now to say, yes, this is helping. Mentally, I think I'm sharper. I do. I think the world's easier going for me now. I like getting up in the morning for a change, which is I haven't for a long time. When you hurt the first thing every morning of most of your life, it's not fun getting out of bed. You
Mm.
kind of don't want to go to bed sometimes because you know what's coming in the morning. Uh, and I know that there are just millions. They say there's over 40 million people in the United States alone with severe back issues. Now, just think if this helped 1 million of those 40 million, what a difference that would make.
Mm-hmm. 1/40th.
Yes. Just
Not
think
much.
about those million people that would be pain free. So I don't know that it's going to work for everybody. I have no idea. I think somehow, some way it will. It may not be the way you think it uh, should be working for you. But I can't overemphasize what you were saying earlier is you've got to step out of the box. It's pretty much not legal in most of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Law enforcement's really not looking to get microdosers or any. So that's
Right.
never been a worry for me. and I'll pay the fine or whatever. It's worth every penny if it should come to that. And
Mhm.
honestly, if I were to be arrested for using this stuff, it'd probably be the best thing for all people out there in pain because it would hit the news.
Right.
And, so it might not be a bad thing. But I don't want to scare people and to thinking that, you're going to be a felon, which I don't think would be the case in 90% of the states out there. Uh,
Mhm.
but thank goodness that Denver area has opened the gates to this and
Mhm.
made it an opportunity. MAPS is doing wonderful stuff. In case your listeners, MAPS is a psychedelic organization that researches uh, and is an advocate. Uh, I don't know how long I'll need to continue to microdose. When I hit the year mark, December 15th, I'm going to give it a try to just slowly back off and see if it's going to be a permanent. Uh, and what I've read, it could very well be a permanent rewiring of the brain. So you're not going to have to do this your entire life. It could be a very short stretch. Uh, I've I've stopped maybe a week, and at the end of that week, several times I've tried that, it starts coming back, but not the severity. So I'm hopeful that with time, it won't be an every day dose that I need.
I keep going back to the mental part because
Yeah,
I think that's part of it, that
it is.
you're also yes, you're rewiring your brain to live without chronic pain. And in the vein of like Joe Dispenza and like that we have the ability to heal ourselves if we give ourselves a chance. And that that relief of relieving yourself of chronic pain is also just the mental relief that happens and rewiring to not have that as a main focus of your every waking moment, even though you say that you enter a different place in your head, where you just get up and work or you get up and do and you just fight through it. It's still sitting there. You know what you're doing. You know that you're having to fight to be there. And so your energy is split always with chronic pain as much control as you think you have. I mean, it's there is no control of it, right?
Right.
And so in that relief of the chronic pain, the relief of the mental focus of it, what do you fill that vacuum? It leaves a vacuum. Like if I'm not, it almost begs the question of if I'm not my suffering, what am I? If I'm not my pain, what am I? Right? I got to
Right.
figure out something else to do with this focus that I've had for my entire freaking life,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. The and it's like a new life. Once you stop or reduce the chronic pain, you start to live again. You start to feel. You start to see a world in a different way. My pain is still there. That's what people need to understand. There's not a doctor in the world that could look at my MRIs and say I shouldn't be in horrible chronic pain. Uh, and I'm not. So what I'm saying is it doesn't cure at the spot of the pain. It's how your mind interprets the pain.
Interprets the pain.
And that has to be the only way this is working. And
Because your body is still, if we were to take an x-ray of Greg, we still have curvature. We still have all of just the elbow, like all of this is there, but your body is saying, I'm going to read this differently and I am going to deliver I'm going to generate my own it's your own it's a cocktail of your own medicine. It's a
yes,
yeah,
it's
fascinating.
well, it just there's no other way it could be. Uh,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, you just, and I'm living, walking proof. And the doctors that look at me and have my X-ray right there, my MRI, just shake their heads and say, "How can this be?" It is because it's somehow pain is used to protect you. It's a survival part of your body to stop. You're hurting yourself. Don't move that arm or that leg until it's
Right.
healed.
Yep.
And your body I believe it does, it overprotects you. Uh, and somehow this microdosing is not letting that happen. It's letting that brain rewire that pain to where you don't need it for survival anymore. You don't need it it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't need to protect you anymore. And that's kind of a loose term, but that's how I feel that upstairs somehow in my cognates, it's saying, okay, you can pick up that pencil on the floor without hurting. But the other thing, Natalie, I want to impress upon, I've also understood that that climb I did was a one-time thing. My body is messed up. I'm not 21 anymore. And I have to respect my body in that I can hurt myself again badly if I think I
Mm-hmm.
can do the
Mm-hmm.
physical things I would like to do. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not running marathons. I've reduced it to being appreciative of my body, and I'm going to take care of it and hopefully live a lot longer. And I'm getting that time period. I walk 3 miles a day. I try to. I walk over to a local hospital and climb stairs, 60, 70 flights a week. And so, but I'm doing it slow. I'm walking, I'm not running. I use bands, no more heavy weights, just bands. So it's a process. I stretch every morning, every night before I go to bed. So it's just not the microdosing, it's a process of reliving, re, how should I say, it's training your mind and body to work without pain, without hurting it more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And hurting it more is the fact that for me anyway, I just know I can't go lift 150 pounds. I just shouldn't do that anymore with my back. Uh, and let someone else do it for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's not a cure-all is what I'm getting at, but getting rid of the pain and is like I've been reborn. And I know you hear reborn a lot from people, but it's just remarkable. It truly is.
I am fascinated, and I think, I shared with you before we hit record that, connecting within the heart space for me, this just is it's remarkable to meet someone who, what I experience of you is that the freedom in your mind, I guess that's going to be my theme, is once you have rewired to free up that space in your mind, that you are becoming a new version of yourself that is compelled to speak up, that is celebrating life, and that the Greg that was prior to our meeting was not available for this kind of connection. The Greg I'm meeting now is like energetically more available. And that's beautiful. That to me is the celebration, to take from your time on this planet the beauty of being alive, and celebrating being alive. And I'm imagining you walking your 3 miles, and the preciousness of every footstep, and the, like,
Yeah.
thank you for arriving here. And you could have given up, and you flirted with with, you know what? No thanks. I got a choice in this. And that's what it boiled down to, is choice, right? Like you very well could have made a choice to end it. And whether that was, you know, taking your own life, it was drowning in drunk, it was uh, whatever, fill in the blank. The choice you made was to, I'm going to go over here and check this out. I'm going to go give this a shot.
Mhm.
Thank goodness that you did.
Well, I was very fortunate to be around some people that guided me to the possibilities of this, and I was open to receive that. And I'm so glad I did. And just, not everybody's going to be open to this. I have a number of friends, some that severe pain that won't even think about it.
yeah.
Uh, and I just that's why I wanted to get this out to explain to people that uh, to just open your mind and do your own research, convince yourself that this might be something worth a try.
Hmm.
And uh, I'm just hoping that it will work for a lot of other people. And
Hmm.
from the universities and their studies, from depression to physical pain, they're all seeing very positive results.
Hmm. Hmm.
PTSD with our military having phenomenal results with psychedelics.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I wish they wouldn't call them psychedelics because it just makes people automatically, afraid of. There's so much more.
Yeah. Yeah. Our conditioning gets in the way.
It does. It
Yeah.
does. And just a little bit of history, and I've tried to read a lot about this. The Greeks were doing this 1,500 years ago. They were. It's been proven. They're finding it in the chalices and so forth
Hmm.
that of
Hmm.
psychedelics, still residues, and of course the Incas and the Mayans, and they have been using it. So this has been around for thousands of years.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm really grateful to that you know, trusted me with your story and your thoughts, and that this is the platform that you chose to start speaking up and sharing with, and I have zero doubt in my mind that there's at least one listener.
I'm glad for that,
Yeah,
for
right.
sure.
Yep. And that's the when I when I post, next episodes, that's what when I hit post, it's like there's somebody out here that needs to hear this. There's somebody out there that needs to just tune in. And this is, if they don't listen to any of the episodes, but they just find one, and they hit on it, then you and I will have done what we needed to do. And I am one person too, and I really appreciate hearing this, and I hear you, and I see you, and I celebrate your courage to find your answer and to relieve yourself. I'm glad you didn't go anywhere. I'm glad you ended up here with me, right now in this present moment. Um, so thank you.
Well, and thank you, Natalie. I'm grateful for you and giving me this opportunity to share a little bit on what helped me. And this is how we're going to get the word out.
Yeah, yeah,
We really are. And I feel for everyone out there that has had to deal with this kind of pain. And,
mm,
and there's lots of us. A lot of us don't ever say a word. And that's the other problem. We've got to speak out and find
mhm,
solutions.
mhm. Yep, yep. Well, thank you. And thank you to those that are listening in. Thank you for thinking out loud with me and my friend Greg, today's guest. Given how many choices you have to spend your time, uh, time being your most valuable asset, I'm honored that you listened in. Until we visit again, go live with love and intention. And please, please, please don't let anyone fuck with your flow. Big hugs, big love. Bye, friends.